Picture two neighbors, same street, same block. Paychecks so close they've probably complained about the same tax bracket at the same barbecue. One of them drives a car that turns heads, leased, freshly detailed every other weekend. He's got the watch, the sneakers, the weekend trips he posts about before the plane even lands. His apartment looks like a magazine. His wardrobe rotates seasonally. From the outside, this guy looks like he's figured it out completely. The other one, you'd barely clock her. Drives something from 8 years ago. Wears the same jacket 3 winters in a row. Orders water at dinner and doesn't explain why. Her coworkers quietly assume she just doesn't make that much. She doesn't correct them. 10 years from now, the first guy is stressed before every paycheck. Still one bad month away from real trouble. Still performing a version of success he can't actually afford. The second one, she owns 2 properties. Has a year's worth of expenses sitting in a high-yield account untouched. Works because she wants to, not because she has to. Same income. Completely different financial reality. And here's what makes it strange. Nobody around the first guy saw it coming. He looked fine. He looked better than fine. He looked like the one who had it together. So what exactly is the difference between someone who quietly builds a year of savings and someone who earns the same amount and somehow ends up with nothing? Because I promise you, it's not what most people think it is. Here's the reframe, and it might sting a little. The problem isn't that most people don't earn enough. The real problem is that every single time income goes up, spending goes up with it. Automatically, almost reflexively, like it's just the natural next step. More money doesn't build wealth. More money, without one specific discipline, just builds a more expensive version of the same trapped life. The raise didn't save you. In a lot of cases, the raise is actually part of the reason you're still stuck. Now let's put some numbers behind this, because this isn't a theory, it's a measurable, documented pattern. The average American household spends around 90 cents of every dollar earned. 90 cents. That covers housing, food, transportation, subscriptions, dining, everything. And it leaves 1 dime per dollar for savings, investments, or any kind of financial cushion. As of 2026, the U.S. personal savings rate has hovered between 3% and 5% for the better part of 2 years running. Let that land. We're talking about the wealthiest large economy in human history, and its average household is saving roughly 3 to 5 cents per dollar earned. 2 out of 5 Americans say they couldn't cover a surprise $400 expense without borrowing money or selling something. $400. Think about that for a second. Not a medical catastrophe, not a job loss, a car repair, a busted water heater, a dental bill. $400 sits between nearly half the population and a genuine financial crisis. Here's another one. The average new car payment in 2026 is somewhere around $735 a month. Most people finance that over 72 months, 6 years. 6 years of $735. And the data shows that when the loan ends, a significant chunk of those buyers walk straight into a dealer and do it again. Meanwhile, millionaires, people who've actually built real wealth, drive cars that are on average 4 to 5 years old. Paid off, unremarkable, because they understood something early that most people figure out far too late. And the stat that ties all of this together, research consistently shows that when people receive a windfall, a bonus, a tax return, an inheritance, the majority of that money is spent within a year, not invested, spent. Income alone does not produce wealth, behavior does. Now here's the mechanism underneath all of this, the actual psychological reason this keeps happening. I call it the baseline creep. It's not impulse buying, it's not irresponsibility, it's not even lifestyle inflation in the way most people describe it. Baseline creep is something more subtle and more dangerous. It's the quiet, gradual redefinition of what normal costs. Here's how it works. You get a raise. You move to a slightly nicer apartment, not extravagant, just a little more space. A little better neighborhood. You upgrade your car, nothing flashy, just something newer. You start going to restaurants that feel appropriate for where you are now. You buy better groceries. You pick up a few more subscriptions. None of it feels like splurging. Each individual decision feels completely reasonable given your new income level. But here's the thing, your baseline has shifted. What used to feel like a treat now feels like the standard. What used to feel like the standard now feels like deprivation. And you didn't make a big dramatic choice to spend more. You made 100 small, reasonable-feeling choices that quietly ratcheted your lifestyle upward. This is what makes baseline creep so hard to fight. It doesn't feel like a mistake while it's happening. It feels like progress. It feels like you're finally living the way someone at your income level should live. But your savings rate didn't move. Your investment contributions didn't increase. Your financial runway didn't grow. The money flowed in, and the baseline absorbed it completely, like water into sand. The really brutal part? Baseline creep compounds. Every income increase resets the baseline higher. Every new normal makes the previous normal feel like struggle. So when a real financial hit comes, a layoff, a medical event, a market downturn, people who've been creeping for years have almost nothing to absorb it with. They were earning well. They just weren't keeping anything. This is the mechanism, not laziness, not ignorance. A quiet, invisible, entirely human psychological process that turns income into air. Now let's talk about what this actually costs you, because the math here is where most people finally feel it. Say you get a $500 monthly raise. That's $6,000 a year in additional income. Not a huge jump, but real money. Here's what baseline creep typically does with it. $150 goes to a nicer apartment, a step up in rent that felt totally justified. $200 goes to a car upgrade, better payment, newer model, nothing crazy. $80 disappears into new subscriptions and upgraded ones. $70 into eating out more often, which honestly you deserve. That's $500 gone, absorbed by the new normal. Savings change, zero. Now here's what happens if you intercept just $200 of that $500 raise before the baseline can grab it and put it somewhere it can't be easily spent. $200 a month, invested at a 7% average annual return. After 10 years, roughly $34,000. That's real money. That's a down payment. That's a car bought outright. That's a year of expenses for a lot of people. After 30 years, somewhere around $243,000. From $200 a month that you genuinely wouldn't have missed because you never let it hit your baseline in the first place. Now scale that to the full $500. $500 a month, same return, 30 years, over $600,000 from one raise. One income bump that most people spend completely and call it normal. That's the real cost of baseline creep. It's not what you spent, it's what that spending cost you in compounded future wealth. And once you see that number, you can't unsee it. So what do people who actually build wealth do instead? Here's the thing. They don't have more discipline in some abstract, heroic sense. They've just structured their finances so that discipline isn't really required in the moment. Research on high net worth individuals, people with over $1 million in investable assets, consistently shows a few behavioral patterns that stand apart from the general population. First, they automate. The money moves before they can decide to spend it. It's not a monthly discipline exercise. It's a one-time setup that runs on autopilot. Second, they don't upgrade their lifestyle proportionally with their income. They let raises, bonuses, and windfalls pile into assets before they let them reshape their spending. And third, this one surprises people. They often can't tell you their exact salary off the top of their head, but they can tell you their net worth to the dollar. A study out of Purdue found that beyond a certain income threshold, additional earnings don't improve day-to-day emotional well-being much at all. What changes emotional stability and genuine security is net worth, the accumulated pile, not the monthly inflow. Think about Marcus. He's a project manager, makes $82,000 a year. Every time he got a raise, he moved to a better neighborhood, got a better car, upgraded his wardrobe, picked up a few more things he felt he deserved. By 35, he was earning more than ever, and somehow struggling more than he did at 27. His coworkers thought he was doing great. He was baseline creeping in real time without realizing it. Then there's Diane. Same industry, similar comp. She set a rule after her first real raise. Half of every future increase gets automated into investments before it ever hits checking. She didn't deprive herself, she just made sure the new baseline couldn't absorb everything. By 38, she had over $90,000 in invested assets. No one at her office knew. That's the pattern, not restriction, architecture. Now here's the distinction that ties everything together. Income is a faucet. Wealth is a tank. Most people spend their whole financial lives obsessing over the faucet, the flow, the rate, the pressure. They want more coming in. And yes, that matters. But if the tank has a hole in the bottom the same size as the faucet opening, the water level never rises. You can increase income forever and never build wealth if the baseline keeps absorbing every dollar. Wealth is what's left when the faucet's off. It's the accumulated water in the tank. And the only way to build the tank is to stop letting every new dollar get immediately redirected into a bigger baseline. That's the whole trick. Faucet versus tank. It sounds simple because it is. The hard part is that everything in modern consumer culture is designed to keep you focused on the faucet and completely unaware that the tank is empty. So here's how you actually change that. These are the specific moves. The first move is called the raise intercept, and it's the most powerful thing on this list. The rule is simple. Before your next raise hits your checking account, decide what percentage of it goes straight to an investment account or savings. Not after you've lived on it for a month, not once you see how it feels. Before, immediately, automatically. Here's why this works psychologically. You cannot miss money you never had access to. If the raise gets intercepted at the source, your baseline never has the chance to absorb it. It never becomes the new normal. You adapt to the same lifestyle you had before, and the difference quietly compounds in the background. The math on a simple intercept. If you redirect just $150 per month from a raise into a Roth IRA starting at age 30, by 60 that's approximately $182,000 at a 7% return from a raise you won't even remember getting. The second move is the 48-hour spending buffer. Any non-essential purchase over $75 goes on a 48-hour wait. Not a guilt trip, not a moral judgment about whether you deserve it. Just 48 hours. Here's the psychological mechanism. Most elevated spending isn't evil or reckless. It's emotional. Boredom, reward-seeking, social comparison. A rough week. The purchase feels urgent in the moment and completely unnecessary 2 days later. The 48-hour buffer lets the emotional spike pass before the money moves. Average savings from this one habit alone? Studies suggest it cuts discretionary impulse spending by 20 to 30% for consistent practitioners. On a $400 a month discretionary budget, that's $80 to $120 back per month, roughly $1,000 to $1,440 per year from waiting 2 days. The third move is the no upgrade pact. Here's what this looks like practically. When your current thing still works, you don't upgrade it. The phone that works stays. The car that runs reliably stays. The apartment that's comfortable enough stays for at least another lease cycle after you could afford to move. I am not done yet, because this one has a specific financial structure to it that most people skip over. Every time you would have upgraded something and didn't, you calculate the cost difference and transfer it, not symbolically. Actually transfer it. If you drove your paid-off car for 2 more years instead of taking on a $600 month payment, that's $600 a month redirected. Over 2 years, $14,400. Invested at 7%, in 20 years that single decision is worth roughly $55,000. One car decision, $55,000. That's not deprivation, that's arithmetic. The fourth move is identity budgeting. Most budgets fail because they're built around restriction. I can't spend more than X on dining out. That framing puts you in a constant fight against yourself. Identity budgeting flips it. Instead of asking what you can't spend, ask who you're becoming financially. If you're building toward a person who has a fully funded emergency fund and consistent investment contributions, every spending decision gets filtered through that identity. Would the version of me I'm building spend $180 on this? Sometimes the answer is yes, and that's fine, but the identity question changes the baseline from what feels normal right now to what moves me toward who I'm building. Think about James. He was perpetually over budget on food, restaurants, delivery, all of it. He started one practice. Before every food purchase over $30, he'd ask, "Is this the person I'm building?" Not always. But enough times the answer was no that he redirected about $200 a month, money that eventually became the seed of his first brokerage account. The fifth move is the 1% monthly savings escalator. This one is almost unfairly simple. Every month, increase your savings rate by 1%, just 1%. If you're saving 5% of your income right now, next month you save 6%. The month after, 7%. Most people don't notice a 1% shift. The lifestyle doesn't change. But the compounding over 12 months moves you from 5% saved to 17% saved, and you barely felt it. At $60,000 annual income, moving from 5% to 17% savings rate means going from $3,000 saved per year to $10,200 per year. Invested over 20 years at 7%, the 5% saver has around $123,000. The 17% saver has over $418,000. Same income, same job, 12 1% shifts. Nope, not over yet, because there's one more move that underpins all of them. The sixth move is the net worth check-in. Once a month, you sit down. It takes literally 15 minutes, and you calculate your net worth. Assets minus liabilities. Everything you own minus everything you owe. One number. Here's why this matters more than tracking spending. It shifts your emotional focus from cash flow to accumulation. from the faucet to the tank. When you watch net worth grow, even slowly, it rewires what financial success feels like. A $50 contribution that didn't touch your lifestyle but moved the net worth number, that starts to feel like a win. That's the identity shift. And once it clicks, baseline creep loses its grip because you've replaced the psychological reward of spending with the psychological reward of building. In 2026, more financial tools exist to automate this than ever before. There is zero reason you need to do this manually. Apps, bank features, employer contributions. The infrastructure is there. The only missing piece is the decision. Now let me show you exactly how this plays out over time. Side by side, same starting point. Meet Jordan and Simone. Same age, 26. Same starting salary, $58,000. Same city, same cost of living, same student loan balance from the same type of school. Jordan does what most people do. Every raise gets absorbed. The lifestyle grows with the income. At 28, he's making $63,000 and living a $63,000 life. At 31, he's at $70,000 and living a $70,000 life. He's never struggling, exactly, but he's also never ahead. He's got about 3 months of expenses saved. His retirement account has something in it from automatic enrollment, but he's never looked at it closely. His baseline absorbs everything. Simone does one thing differently from the start. She intercepts 15% of every paycheck before it hits her checking account. Not at the end of the month, not when she remembers, automatically, from day one. When her salary goes from $58,000 to $63,000 at year 2, she doesn't change her lifestyle to match. She adjusts the intercept. When she gets a $2,000 bonus at year 3, half goes to her emergency fund and half to investments. She buys a used car, keeps it for 7 years, lives in a good enough apartment for longer than feels necessary. At 36, Jordan is earning $78,000. He feels comfortable but stretched. His net worth, adding up everything, is around $28,000, mostly a retirement account he's underfunded and a car that's worth less than he paid for it. At 36, Simone is earning $76,000, slightly less than Jordan, actually. But her net worth is over $140,000. Invested assets, a small emergency reserve, a piece of a rental property she went in on with a family member after building enough capital to do it. She's not rich by any headline standard, but she has options, real, tangible options. Same city, roughly the same income, completely different financial realities. And the only meaningful structural difference between them was what happened to each dollar in the first 30 days after it arrived. Jordan spent his baseline. Simone built a tank. Here's what this whole video is really about, and it's not about the $50 rule or the 48-hour buffer or any specific tactic individually. The thing underneath all of this is financial literacy, not in the academic jargon-heavy sense, in the functional sense. Understanding how money actually moves. Understanding what compounding does over time. Understanding the difference between a faucet and a tank before it's too late to do anything meaningful about it. Most people were never taught this. Not in school, not at home. They were handed adult financial lives without any of the operating instructions. So they did what made intuitive sense. They spent what they earned, upgraded when they could, and assumed that more income would eventually solve the problem. It doesn't. It never has. The moves in this video aren't complicated. None of them require sacrifice in any dramatic sense. What they require is understanding, a clear picture of what's actually happening with your money so you can make different decisions than the default ones your environment is pushing you toward. That's what this channel exists for, not to make finance feel overwhelming or elite or out of reach, to make it legible, practical, applicable right now in 2026 with the income and the life you actually have. The tactics only work once you understand the mechanism. And the mechanism only clicks once someone explains it plainly. Go back to those 2 neighbors. The one with the car and the watch and the trips. He looks like the success story. He looks like the proof that working hard and earning well leads somewhere good. The one in the unremarkable jacket, driving the old car, ordering water. She doesn't look like much. She's not performing anything. But she's free in a way he doesn't even know is possible yet. Her freedom is invisible because she built it quietly. No announcement, no posts. No moment where she declared she'd figured it out. She just stopped letting every dollar disappear into a bigger baseline. And one day, not dramatically, not all at once, the tank was full. The quietest financial move you'll ever make is usually the most powerful one. Not because nobody sees it, because it doesn't need to be seen to work.